Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arthur ten Wolde. I am the Executive Director of Ecopreneur, the European Federation of Sustainable Business. And first of all, I'm now trying to share my screen. Let me see if that is possible. And also have the presentation for you. So I'm asking to our panel, are you now seeing the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So good morning, everybody. First of all, we thank the organizers of the 2020 virtual conference on material innovations, technologies and circular economy solution to create a world free from waste plastic. And we are now having a panel discussion on creating the right framework for a circular fashion and textiles economy. And the panel is that we form is indicated right here. So myself and Mauro Scalia from Euratex, Jolijn Kreutzberg from Van Halli, Enrico Rima from Lebenskleidung, and Martin Ekenbach from the H&M Group. So welcome, everybody. We will try to cover this topic in a few discussion rounds in the next 30 minutes. So first of all, let me just briefly introduce the Ecopreneur. Ecopreneur, like I said, is the European Sustainable Business Federation, representing about 3,000 SMEs in 6 member states. And we have just done a 2-year project on textiles and fashion policies with CNA Foundation. We found that for the green SMEs, but also broader, main obstacles were complexity of circular design, lack of demand, lack of transparency, regulatory barriers, and many others. And we proposed, as the outcome of this project, 5 pillars for textiles policies to make the whole sector circular: innovation policies, economic incentives, regulation, trade policies, and voluntary actions. So now I would like to ask the panel to briefly introduce themselves. So first, I would ask Jolijn to introduce you. Let me also make the next slide.
Thank you, Arthur. My name is Jolijn Kreutzberg. I'm very happy to be on this panel. I'm the founder of Van Halli. 8 years ago, I started this company that has turned into a social enterprise as we know it now. But it all came down to what you see on this schedule is that we started with turning shirts into boxer shorts. You send in your shirts and we return it as a boxer short. You see from the left to the right that there's a sort of circular process being done. And meanwhile, we've expanded our products with workwear that has been discarded or needs a new logo and all that. We make it into not boxer shorts, but also bags or laptop sleeves or any items that will do for employees or relations. So that's what we do in a circular way. The red circular circle that you see is at least as important and makes me a social entrepreneur. Basically because we train women with a hard time finding a job, mostly with a migrant background. And they work within our company for a year. They get training, doing the work experience while sewing these items, but they get their own development and leave the company in a year. So the social and the sustainable part is really the essence of the company Van Halli, which is based in the Netherlands, in Groningen, the north of Holland. And well, we're basically serving all companies and clients in the Netherlands. So that's what we do.
Okay, thank you, Jolijn. I'll now stop sharing my screen. Just a moment. Did that work?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe now, Martin Ekenbach, you can explain your background. Thank you.
Sure. Nice to be here. My name is Martin Ekenbach. I'm a part of the Circular Innovation Lab within the H&M Group Sustainability Department. And our aim is more or less to increase and ease the implementation of more sustainable materials within the H&M Group brands. And to do that, we cooperate and work together with innovators and startups with their more sustainable materials and try to help them to scale up their innovations. Because many of these innovations are taking quite a few years to reach the volumes that we need in order to use them as sustainable material in our supply chains. So what we're doing is that we are collaborating with these companies. We're trying to help them to specify our needs and also to help them to evaluate our product in our supply chain together with one of our brands and together with our producers. So that's more or less what we do. And then we do quite a lot of other things. We're working with circular design guidelines that we're implementing right now in order for our designers to increase the circularity of the products that we're creating. And we're also scoring the different materials according to sustainably sourced ratios. And a lot of other topics that we will enter during these discussions.
Okay, thank you. Enrico Rima.
Yeah, my name is Enrico, founder of Lebenskleidung, and we are based in Berlin. And we are into the organic business since 12 years now. And what we figured out is that a lot of small, medium-scale designers don't have even the chance to start up their business with sustainable fabrics because they have all the issues with the minimum order quantities, or it's hard to get, and as a small company to get into the big production companies. So this is our job. We are just making 2 collections this year, and we are trying also to put awareness about topics like plastic or like organic cotton. I mean, this is what we did the last 12 years. And I think the next step is now to explain to people why it's also important to keep in mind that we need a circular economy also in this part as well. So this is the next step, what we are heading on now. And let's see in the discussion what we find out here.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, Mauro Scalia.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Arthur. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mauro Scalia. I'm director of the Sustainable Businesses Department in Euratex. Euratex is the European Textile and Apparel Industry Confederation based in Brussels. So we are the official voice of the whole value chain of textiles. We represent the whole 160,000 companies and 1.6 million workers in this huge industry here in Europe. And we cover everything from the fiber making until the finished product, whether it's a garment, a bed sheet, or a filter, or the wing of an airplane in technical textiles. As an advocacy organization, as an industry organization, we promote coordination within our membership, and we advise the European Union institutions on policy, on strategies to help sustainability in the textile sectors, in particular, of course, in my department. And in particular, we have called already a year ago almost for a strong action to enable large-scale circular economy for textile products, working at the beginning mostly with our front-runner companies and then gradually expanding to all the European companies to make, again, large-scale circular economy in textiles. That's the main asset of what we do today.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Just let me also mention that I think this panel is an interesting combination because of different perspectives. We have 2 sustainable SMEs from the membership of Ecopreneur. We have a multinational company, and we have the European Textile Producers Federation. So moving on to our next part of the discussion. The first question that we would like to discuss is a question to each of you. What is preventing you from putting more circular products and services on the market? Jolijn, maybe you could start again.
Thank you. Well, I think the main thing is the awareness issue. I would say that making the potential client more aware of the sense of urgency that is, sometimes not really there, not really present. And I would say that for me, the essence would be if more people would know what we do, we would be able to expand, no problem at all. But I think from that part, it needs more awareness, and that means, having your brand recognized as a serious brand on taking up these issues.
Okay. Enrico?
Yeah, I would underline that a bit. It's what I said in my introduction, is that like we were so hard working on telling the people why first to take sustainable materials at first, and what are the impacts on environment and social issues. So, and that was the process we had to explain, or to educate people why it's different, why we go for organic things. And now I think the next step is that as well. But this is also like a progress with organic materials as well, because the awareness is kind of missing for that, because they think, okay, now we have sustainable clothing or eco fashion on, and that's it. But it's not the end of the road. So this is just a process. Also, we started in our company. We have a presentation tomorrow somewhere, and so we just scale these ideas for us as well. But we also find limitations from our producers in production, because the same as well, when we started with producers, they had maybe 5% of their production was organic cotton, organic linen, or wool, whatever, and now they increased it due to us and also to the market requests. But if I start to talk to them about circular materials, they look like I start again like 10 years ago with organic cotton. Why we have to do that? What is it? Is it too expensive? How much you need? So this is the issues. We start just with a different topic, but on the same level, from my view, from my producers, because awareness has to be raised before, and also
Okay,
asking and requesting.
Okay, thank you. Martin?
All right. I think, our biggest obstacles would be that the availability of recycled and other sustainable source materials aren't really there in our volumes. We have a goal for 2030 to only use recycled or other sustainable source materials in our complete H&M group. And as of now, we have reached 57.1%. In the cotton, which is the easiest part, I would say we have reached almost 100%, or actually 100%. But the remaining part of that is all the other textiles based on crude oil, for example, and all the others. And these are much more tough to innovate and scale up. So there we need to increase the pace of that innovation. Also, I think there's a problem with the definition of textiles as waste, because in several countries within the EU, the municipal has the monopoly for waste treatment. So when we try to collect recycled garment in our stores, we are not allowed to do that in some countries. We have had the problems in Germany, we have had it in Sweden, we have it for now in both France, Hungary, and Serbia. And in some countries, we're just collecting the garments, but they are actually piling up because we can't sort it in that country, and we can't trade it within the EU. And we would like to have some kind of a common way of looking at textiles as a resource, not as waste, so that we can be able to trade it within the union, but also outside the union, to be able to actually recycle these materials.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just wondering, maybe if one of you is not talking, maybe to dampen your phone. And then finally, I asked this question to Mauro.
Yes, thank you, Arthur. We are a Brussels-based office, and we ask our companies what are the barriers. And I'm glad to see that most of the comments are in our strategy. We have delivered 12 key points. We believe we need to start with the demand first. We need to increase the demand for more sustainable textile and circular in textiles. If cheap price is the major driver, then we will never have a large-scale circular economy in textiles available. And that means demand from consumers, but also from public authorities. We need to work on product design and to scale up technologies. We have a lot of promising technologies today, and we need more and need to develop new more. So we need to have the right infrastructure also to create a reverse logistics system where you can take waste easily and reprocess them to create new materials. As Martin mentioned, we need to have agreed standards and definition of waste, but also we need to agree on what is a sustainable textiles and what is actually his environmental footprint. We need agreement on that. And last but not least, while we do all of that, we need to preserve the competitiveness of our industry and of our SMEs, which are so key as a manufacturing industry in Europe, as also the recent COVID crisis reminded us when everybody was looking for masks and protective gowns, and having the manufacturing capacity is a huge asset for the whole European society.
Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you. So that brings me to the second and I think central question for this meeting. That is, what European Union and national policies could help you to remove these barriers? Okay, maybe go back to Jolijn first again. Just remember to to unmute your microphone.
Yes, here I am. Yes, thank you. Well, I think what would be very helpful as a government policy would be to set an example, to do a lot on social and circular procurement, for instance, making it more as a basic, as a standard instead of an exception. Set the example for other companies as well. I think the whole awareness thing would be something that the governments could also pick up in the forms of a campaign showing what really is done. I think there's a lot of initiatives and innovative ideas on this area that just the public doesn't know, and it's something that is really something very positive and makes you happy instead of focusing on rules and regulation, because that's not what the public really interested is in. I think, according to me, I think if I see how my boxer shorts were taken in, it got me an enormous amount of publicity because it's such an original idea, and there's so many other innovative ideas. And then when these innovations, as Martin also says, can get into a cooperation with bigger companies, then you could really speed up the movement with a sort of positive vibe. That's sometimes what I miss, and I think that's very, very important to get the public as a mass into the movement, what we all want.
Okay, thank you, Enrico.
Yeah, I mean, I just can underline that as well. It's just like the first idea was like we need like funding programs for that for sourcing circular materials, because if I hear this from Mark right, from H&M. Anyhow, that
Martin.
Yeah, Martin. Sorry, it's Martin. I'm bad at names. It's just like we have we are the other side of the thing. We are too small to make like having like big wishes to our producers. So this is like, and we don't have the money to put it into innovative companies who might have solutions or like grab other companies together. So from this side, would be cool to have incentive programs for that, to getting like innovative companies together to cooperate. I think this is also like to set up some standards. It's like, okay, we have to find out, we have to cooperate and not to get in competition with each other, otherwise we lose altogether. I think this is important, and also give it like an easy statement. This is waste, or supposed to be waste, and this has a value, and the value between old stuff and new stuff should be like, should be just value that the people see. This is not waste, or we call it waste, but it's just because we don't get money for that, because the raw materials are so cheap that even the waste is much cheaper. So this is also like a mind shift we need in our head, is to see this is not waste, and we have to think totally differently. We have to think in terms of like a cherry tree. Every spring you wonder, how can he flower this crazy? Is this effective, whatever? And yeah, some things fall down, but it's a circle. It's working. So we should take this full full flower we have, but we have to cooperate together to fix this together, because there will be nothing that we can get in competition. This is not working. So yeah, giving money for even smaller companies that don't have so much money to put together the innovative people who like to cooperate on these things, because yeah, it's any solution. We need to cooperate to fasten up the speed.
Okay, thanks. Mauro?
Well, from what we see here, a lot is actually already happening and EU policy making and national policy making. We expect for next year's new legislative proposal on eco-design of products, including textiles. We expect legislation to help consumer choosing more sustainable products, especially textiles, and also protecting them from greenwashing, so claims which are not substantiated. So a lot of things are really happening now. We also see interest to put funds on the ground to finance small projects, but also large-scale infrastructures. And it is very impressive how much the importance of sustainability in textile has gone up in the policy agenda. In the countries, the member state will have to organize separate textile collection in the next 4 years by 2024. There's a lot to be done to make this effectively. So it is really a lot in our plate right now. The challenge is to work to make this effectively in a way that it can deliver on the nitty-gritty of details.
Okay, and finally, Martin?
All right, I think it's great to hear you, Jolene and Enrico, mentioning that we need to increase the awareness of the customers and the public that this is needed and this is important. And that's also the reason why we did this loop garment-to-garment activity in one of our stores right now, to show what is possible to do today, to shred the garments and spin them into new garments and so on. So that's quite interesting, and also worth mentioning. Say that even if small companies can't really afford the same amount of investments in other companies and innovation projects and so on, we are never seeking exclusivity in the things that we are part of, because that's counterproductive for us. I mean, we want a lot of people to buy large volumes of these new materials, because only then we will be able to reach the price point that we will be able to use. So we are more than happy to share these innovations with the market and try to shift the market into more sustainable production and also recycling technology. And I think when it comes to what EU and national policies could help, I think the definition of textiles as waste is by far one of the most important. But also I think we need to look at the discrepancy between the recycling processes and the sorting processes that we are having on the market today, and fund the sorting process, because in order to have a big volume scale recycling setup, you need a feedstock. And the sorting processes are quite manual today and not at all cost efficient. So I think they are based on quite a lot of manual work. It's based on using the garments on secondhand markets, which is good, but we also need to do the shift into automatic sorting for recycling. Because there are huge volumes to be sorted out there, and there will be huge volumes needed for these processes in the future as well, to be able to recycle and also to find these feedstocks that they are needing in order to scale up their companies and their volumes.
Okay, thank you. So then we enter the final discussion round based on these ideas for policies. First of all, also good for the discussion, I would like to mention the outcomes again of the Ecopreneur study, which fits very nicely with the barriers and solutions that you already mentioned, but some of them were not yet mentioned. For instance, in the pillar on innovation, well, textiles recycling has still problems that should be solved. Microplastics release is an issue. The true price, like Mauro already said, the footprint is important. Also, Ecopreneur recommends to found circular acceleration houses in all European regions to help SMEs. And then economic incentives, because of the lack of demand, procurement was already mentioned. what was not mentioned yet was extended producer responsibility, EPR, including what is called the accumulation of fees to make products, textile products that and services that are eco-friendly, to make them less expensive. In this context, ecopreneurs also frequently mention VAT rate reduction as a measure that would help them the most. And also in a broader context, ecopreneur is in favor of a tax shift from labor to resources. I think those are the most important things to mention for now. Regulation was already mentioned. Trade was already mentioned. No, was not mentioned yet, by the way. Trade, that's also, it is in these contexts, it's international, like H&M is also multinational. So existing trade barriers need to be removed. And also recently, there's now discussion on a carbon border adjustment mechanism that should prevent unfair competition on the EU market. Finally, we pointed out on voluntary actions, like the plastics pledges. This could also work for textiles. So based on this, I would like you to invite for a final round of discussion in only like 2 minutes. So we have only very little time. We have 4 minutes in total for this session. So maybe everyone could spend like 1 minute with some final remarks, or also maybe react on each other. Ooh. Okay, Enrico?
Yeah, I mean, it's like what comes into my mind is also like we have to talk about like true prices in the end, you know, what if we come down to value, what we need is also like what are true prices and why do we always have like I just said bananas, these, no? Why is the conventional banana in the supermarket always the normal one and the organic one always the more expensive one and whatever, and we have to explain it the other way around, you know. I would like to come into the position that we say, okay, we are like the forefront or we are like the progressive ones, and this is what we do is normal because it's needed. And what is also interesting now is that this comes up in German politicians that they discuss this. So they talked about the supply chain law to see that like CEOs or like founders of companies, they have like a due diligence to down their supply chain to do that. I mean, and this is also like the beginning for what we are talking now, circular. But first of all, we have to see that not so much shitty things coming into the supply chain, so much plastic things coming into coming to the producer, and then we need to recycle because most of the things are not even worth to recycle because it's just like plastic or whatever cheap fabric. So there's nothing you can recycle. So we have to start in the very first beginning to see, okay, what do we put in the supply chain, and then talk about true prices, what it should be. So it's like very complex. I just want to highlight that, you know, that we have to keep thinking holistically.
I think price is really is an issue. Of course, we're considered expensive products or expensive textiles. And I think the initiative on tax reduction and all that is really nice, but it should, in the end, it could be a temporarily. To me, it should be a temporary thing to speed up the movement, but not as being an exclusive, like, you know, what we do is good and the rest is not good. I am always a bit hesitant in creating something that has boundaries, like the good ones are in and the bad ones are out. I mean, we need each other to make this movement really really big and speed up. So I think for I'm for it, as long as it's just an instrument for temporarily lowering the prices and making the public more aware and more able to buy these things.
Okay,
that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Martin.
Yeah, I think, I mean, when talking about taxes, we have quite a recent example on Swedish taxes. We have the taxes on textiles due to chemicals. And I mean, if they will impose that tax as it looks right now, it will mean that all textiles will have this tax. And if you can if you can prove that you haven't used any hazardous chemicals, you will get back almost everything that you paid in tax. But that's quite a costly process to do, and I don't think that will help. I mean, we're not working with any of those chemicals that are on that list. So I mean, it will be an imposed tax on us, and we will have to pay to make it clear that we're not using it on each textile. But I mean, if we want to save money, we can start using it instead, the bad chemicals. We won't do that, of course, but it's not an incentive to stop using bad chemicals. It's only a tax that increases the cost for the end consumer in the end. So I think we should be really, really careful when it comes to taxes and how they are formulated. Then again, I think it's. I mean, we need to do something, but it needs to be a way that decreases the amount of hazardous chemicals, for example. Okay. And I think we need to look at also the production side of that. We need to look at what kind of chemicals are production and look at the standards out there, like zero hazardous chemicals, set DHC, and also the HIG as a standard way of looking at it. Sorry.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, we're over time. So Mauro, I would like to ask you to close up the discussion, and then I will close up the meeting.
Yes. I mean, price will go down when we increase the demand and we have the technologies and the system we need. We need innovation, but a large scale. Euratex has proposed the setting of 5 recycling hubs. It's an initiative from our side on which we work for months with a lot of companies and organizations across Europe. We want to set 5 recycling hubs in Europe near apparel textile district to upscale waste and create circular materials by looking at the collection, sorting, recycling, both mechanically and chemically, a new frontier of textile waste, and to change what is today pre-consumer, industrial, and post-consumer textile waste into new available material. We're very excited about that. We announced a few weeks ago in a Circular Economy conference in Brussels. It requires a partnership from the whole value chain, from the chemical industry to the recycling to the textile makers, and we need also demand for that. So we believe these 5 recycling hubs has a huge potential. The financial resources can also be there. So we're really excited to work on that in partnership with all our membership and the companies all across Europe.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. I would like to close this meeting that I think that our discussion has shown that there are many things that companies are already doing, both the entrepreneurs, the small companies, and the large companies and the producers, but that there's a large role for policies at the EU level and national to reduce the remaining barriers and speed up this transition to a low carbon circular textile economy. So thank you very much, everybody, and I will now close the recording. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.